Hi everyone, Namaskar. Happy International Yoga Day. Thank you for taking time out on Sunday on the Yoga Day, International Yoga Day, for chatting with us. So today we have a conversation series that's going to begin, and we have a very important person. Of course, being the Yoga Day, we have a yoga guru with us. His name is Sandeep Manur. He has the experience of practicing yoga for over 30 years now. Not just yoga, but even martial arts. His journey in this field has been very beautiful and very thorough. His understanding of the mind and body is unparalleled. I myself have had the privilege of studying under him, taking yoga sessions. Nritya Dance Company has also had the privilege of being mentored by him and his yoga school. Sandeep Manur has been trained under a true Himalayan yogi, and imagine the whole experience of going there and learning, and not just in yoga, but he's also been trained by a Kung Fu master. He is the founder of the Amrita Yoga Bindu Center in Bangalore, and in the center we have a lot of mentors and yoga teachers who work with the yoga enthusiasts, and they basically practice and preach the authentic forms of tantric and yoga philosophies here. So because the time is very less, I would really like to dive right into the subject, and that would begin only when I call Sandeep. So I'm going to invite him over. Hope you're getting, yes, hi Sandeep.
Hello.
Namaste.
Namaste. Nice to see you after a long time, Mayuri.
Oh, truly my pleasure. This is the new normal now. This is how we meet.
Yes.
So today is your day. Like how happy International Dance Day anta namge ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. So it's your day. So a big pranam to my yoga guru, and thank you for taking this time out to talk to us, especially the dancers who are logging in. And your insight would be very valuable to us. And can I, without further delay, begin a
Absolutely.
series of questions to you? I'm just going to bombard you with
Absolutely.
a lot of questions, and I'm hoping to get a bit of gyan and spread it if possible. Yeah?
Sure, whatever
So,
I know. Yeah.
my first question to you, Sandeep, is how does one choose a form of yoga? There are so many different kinds of yoga, and I'm not talking about the schools of yoga. Different kinds like the Bhakti Yoga, Kriya Yoga. There are so many different kinds, right? So, how does a person choose the right kind of yoga for his body?
Um, okay, you asked me two questions here. You said, uh, how does somebody choose a form of yoga or like style of yoga?
Okay.
And then you included body. So, I'm a little bit here. So I'll answer it in two ways, right? One
Sure.
is, see the Bhakti, Jnana, Karma, and Kriya Yoga, all these styles of yoga that you're talking about. A lot of them don't have anything to do with Hatha Yoga, like isn't a
Hmm.
form-based Hatha Yoga. Whereas Bhakti Yoga has its own way of using the body, right? Get up in
Hmm.
the morning, go draw your own water from the well. This was like ideal situation of Bhakti earlier. So,
Hmm.
and walk up to the temple, offer your respects, do a lot of pradakshine and all of that. There was cardio involved, there was weightlifting involved, there was everything involved there.
Hmm.
So, how does one choose this kind of this one form
Hmm.
is based on the temperament. If
Okay.
you are emotional,
Hmm.
right? If you're emotional and if you can say, okay, yeah, there is something bigger than me, then
Hmm.
you automatically choose Bhakti Yoga.
Okay.
Uh, but a lot of us today cannot choose Bhakti Yoga because, we are intelligent. We
Hmm.
know things and we cannot accept things without proof.
Hmm.
So then we choose Gnana Yoga. Gnana Yoga is to understand things, keep on understanding things until
Mm-hmm.
you understand, until there is nothing left to understand.
Hmm.
So if you don't have these two temperaments, and let's say you can work very hard, that's your this one, then you can take up Karma Yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Because see, people who are very strong, who can work hard, who can keep working, are the ones who, uh, in a way, they don't need anything else. Their work becomes their practice. So that's Karma Yoga. What we
Okay.
do now, Hatha Yoga, is for people who want to. The actual idea of Hatha Yoga is for you to be able to use your body in so many ways that you can sit properly and maybe over a period of time contemplate, meditate, and all of that. So Hatha Yoga is just until that.
Hmm. Hmm. And what is the difference, primary difference you see when dancers do yoga and when other practitioners do yoga? And I'm not talking about people who are beginners or yoga enthusiasts. I'm talking about, say, somebody like a sports person and a dancer. So if both of them are using their bodies very actively, what is the primary difference that sets a dancer apart when he or she is doing yoga? And how can one understand that better and improve on it?
See, with dancers, based on their dance, for example, Bharatanatyam, right? You have to keep your hip open. You have to keep the hip open and the toes away from each other.
Hmm.
Where and there is some little bit of strain on the knees because the knees are in bend position.
Hmm.
So each style of dance has its own positions, its own posture, and all of that.
Hmm.
And based on that, dancers are very flexible at some joints and not flexible, not at all flexible at other joints if they are not
Okay.
balanced.
Based on the
So
dance form.
based on the dance form, yes,
Okay.
right. So based on the dance form and based on their pre and post dance stretching habits, right? So practice pre and post practice stretching habits.
Hmm.
Then there is a set of things that happen, right? There is a habit which is formed.
Hmm.
So on based on that habit, I see what I have noticed with dancers is that they have some extremely flexible joints and some not at all flexible joints.
Okay. Okay. And would you say that is so? Flexibility is a defining difference between dancers and other practitioners of body or and movement.
Mm, there are some other movement practitioners who are very, very flexible. For example, mm,
Like, would you say sports people, for that matter, have stronger bodies and muscle strength as compared to dancers?
I would say so, because even in sports, like let's not take a mainstream sport, right? Let's just take a sport like golf, which does not
Right.
need too much strength, but yes, it needs strength, right? But there is a habit forming tendency, right?
Okay.
If you're a right-hander, you swing, and then there is a habit forming tendency. The right side of the body is used more, the left side is not.
Hmm.
So with sports people, this is what happens.
Hmm.
We see that often they are imbalanced. Right? One side of the body is strong and the other is not.
Okay. What would you say? Is there like a right time and right? duration, a minimum duration of yoga practice? And would you say, I mean, specifically for dancers, because I think dancers are used to vigorous training and disciplined practice. So, looking at, like, irrespective of the dance form, whether it's classical or whether it's contemporary martial art, 1-2 hours of practice is very easy for their bodies, right? So, keeping that in mind, how much of yoga and what time of the day would you recommend for dancers?
Okay, I'd like to answer this in two stages, right? One is with dancers, though they are engaging with their body so much, the engagement is not very mindful in many places.
Okay.
So, more than a regular practitioner who is just going to an office job or things like that and coming back, it is difficult to teach dancers that engagement, that kind of mindfulness into what they are doing, because movement is so easy for them. So they just move without being present. So
Okay.
to constantly bring them to that place is one challenge as a yoga teacher that I've noticed, and which I also enjoy working with, right? I enjoy working with that idea that, okay, yeah, let's bring them to the body. Um, and I would suggest not more than 45 minutes to
Okay.
maximum 1 hour of physical movement as a yoga practice, not more than 1 hour of physical movement, and a deep relaxation practice, because that is when they can connect more to their body than when moving physically. Like something like Yoga Nidra works very well.
Okay. Would you say this is every day?
If they could do every day, you can even bring it down to 30 minutes of movement, mindful movement, and mindfully doing asanas, and about 15-20 minutes of some relaxing practices. See, we don't need to move too much, Mayuri. Contrary to the popular belief that you do hours and hours of practice, you don't need to do that. All you need to do is have the attitude right, and 30 to 45 minutes to maximum 1 hour is a very good time.
And in the 45 minutes, would you say every day we need to build it up from a Surya Namaskar to some of the intense, challenging asanas?
We could do that. See, if you have a everyday practice, then it's very playful and explorative. If you have a good guidance, right? You just make it very playful and explorative. Like, for example, yesterday you did Ushtrasana, maybe a camel pose, right? With the hands on the back, a nice back bend, chest opening. Maybe today you could do the same and just raise one hand. That's it. Just be playful, experiment with it. And yes, building up, why we do Surya Namaskara in the beginning is to warm the body up. So building it up a little is good.
Okay, nice. I noticed that we dancers, when we perform, especially for active dance performers, young dance performers, um, when we train them over the years to get into the skin of a character, to intensely involve in a performance where you don't have to think, like you said, where we keep dancing. So both the mind, the emotions especially, and the body is so charged. So our energy is always rising like the mercury. Um, and with yoga, I feel somewhere it is towards bringing peace, right? It is towards finding an inner stillness. So I feel like the two are somewhere at opposite ends. Do you think do you agree first of all with what I'm saying?
On a very superficial layer, yes, I do agree.
Okay.
But it does not have to be. Let's go ahead. let me listen to the second this one.
Do you think because they are so different as practices, they complement one another, or do you think um, they both are points of points where one continues into another? Are they opposites, or are they actually uh, complementing because they are two sides of the same coin?
Okay. See here, I just have to make one distinction, right? Mindfully moving and not mindfully moving. When you are aware that you are moving, and when you are aware how you are moving, even dance becomes a practice of yoga.
Okay.
But for a dancer, unless there is years of experience built and an attitude built around it, right? So a dancer, I've seen a lot of dancers, like starting from folk to this one. You know that one of my specialty is that I work with dancers, right? So I'm not very active on Instagram and all that, so I don't put up the this one, but I work with a lot of dancers.
Yes.
So I've seen a lot of them very, very, very grounded. They are so charged on the stage. As soon as they get down that stage, that one step that they take down from the stage, they're completely a different person. So this attitude, if learned, which is also yoga practice, right? To understand that you are somewhere, and then the moment you get off from there, you are in the present moment. You're not putting that hat anymore, right? So this is very, very, this is what I feel with young dancers especially. I feel that they don't want to get off there from the stage. Even while they are sleeping, they are on the stage.
Okay.
Either
We
they
love
are saying,
like
maybe, so they are saying, I did well, I did not do well, I should have done this, I should have done that. While ideally, I've seen a lot of very seasoned dancers who has said, see, I could do as much as I can, I did, and I came out. That's it. That performance is never there on their mind. They've left it off. So ideally, if everybody could try and get there, that's the best moment that you can have. Completely disconnected from what you did when you're off. So this is one of the best kept secrets with very old practitioners. They lead very, 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 very normal life. But I see the youngsters, the very young, small, very, like say, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who are coming to dance now. They are carrying it everywhere. They're saying, I am a dancer, I am this, I am that. Their identification becomes so hard that it it is difficult for them to get off that identification. And when that happens, the emotions are also around it.
so you would say that means you are saying that they are both in the next to each other and they're complementing in the same line.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Okay. Um, Continuing from that question or adding to the same question, I feel like with dance, we are very much engaged with the world of Maya. We love the world of fantasy. Our world is very surreal, very imaginative, and we draw people into this world of illusion. So when we go on stage, even stepping on stage, even if it is for a warm up, we feel like we are entering another realm, and it's very magical for us. You know? Whereas with yoga, I think you're existing in reality, and you're believing in that power of now. So, do you feel like with dancers, it's a very challenging process to bring them back to this now?
I see that. See, you said Maya, right? this very concept I need to little bit elaborate. Not maybe in the Vedic aspects of yoga practice, but Hatha Yoga is a very tantric practice, right? There is a lot of tantra in Hatha Yoga. When you move your body and say through that I will control my mind and maybe something beyond the mind I can control it. It is a very tantric understanding. So, taking this Maya a little ahead, there is Leela.
Mm-hmm.
So everything, the dance that you're talking about, right? It is also called as the dance of Shiva, right? The first dance which brought in life and all that. So here, instead of Maya, instead of saying that it's an illusion, you're saying it's a Leela, right? Maybe the change has caused a nice stage show,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So that's a Leela instead of Maya. In Tantra, you can call it a Leela. But you know that you are witnessing a Leela. You are
Mm-hmm.
witnessing something so magnificent, something which is created so magnificent. So both the one who sees it and the one who is performing it should be cognizant that this ends after this. After the performance, this ends.
Hmm.
The one
So,
who knows it.
so, so you feel like it doesn't depend on the profession of dance. It very much depends on the understanding of an individual.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Now, when you're doing when you're practicing yoga, would you say that because our dance is so cardio based and we are always uh, you know doing our riyas, and even if not, it's our food coming to our dietary aspect of it, right? So dancers are encouraged to have um, a certain kind of a meal. Would you say like yoga prescribes a very sattvic meal, right? Would you say um, the two go together, or what kind of nutrients would you recommend for the body which can help the practice of yoga?
See, yoga believes that you need to eat according to what you do.
Hmm.
If you are a weightlifter, you can't eat uh, just a bit of rice and vegetables. You need good amount of protein, right? Because your regeneration is more, your muscle building, this one is more. So you need to eat. So it
Right.
does not say you need to eat vegetables, you need to eat fruits and just live your life like that. No, it says you need to
Okay.
eat according to what work you do. And as you said, dancers move a lot. They need a lot of energy. They need to eat something which gives them that kind of energy. Because I see a lot of them losing muscle, right? Dancers losing a lot of muscle, which is not good. They need a
Hmm.
certain amount of protein in that, in
Hmm.
their food. So maybe using sprouts and so because they have the ability to digest,
Hmm.
right? So yoga, the main theme of yoga is to say, it says don't believe in anything just like that. You use your higher thinking abilities, you see things, you see how things change, notice it, and then based on that, work with it. It does not say
Okay.
don't eat meat, don't eat this, don't eat that. It says whatever your system is accustomed to, please
Hmm.
do that.
Okay. So even alcohol is permitted because of Somarasa, and Adi Yogi itself used to, So would you say that's true? Then you would not stop
Mm,
eating anything or drinking anything. You would not say that to dancers.
I would I would say see if you need to, right? If you need to drink in order to move into a creative realm or creative dimension, the artists, right? They do that. They take substance to move into some place. But if you're very cognizant of it, like if you know that if you're doing this just for this, and you will step out of it,
Hmm.
right? Stepping in is not a problem. You can drink, you can take drugs, or you can do whatever you want to, but stepping out of it has to be known,
Right.
right?
You should know your
So
limits.
rather than limits, you should see yogis sometimes take substance to move to a different realm, right? Though I don't understand. My teachers do. So when they do, they are in such a state, the nervous system is in such a state that they are not craving for anything. That craving has to be gone before you can do any of these things.
Hmm.
You should
Hmm.
not crave for it, but just use it for a necessity and move on.
Interesting. Okay. Next question would be just like how we're talking about feeding the body, right? Feeding the mind with thoughts is equally important requirement. I think to put a filter in your mind, especially considering the times that we're living in. Uh, I think pre-COVID, the kind of stress we were having is very different from the kind of stress we're undergoing now. And this has completely brought a certain set of uncertainty to us, not generally as individuals, and specifically because of the kind of profession we are in. Dance, live performers, dancers, you just see them now online, whether it's teaching or putting up a post. So it's drastically, even though we're smiling and dancing, it's drastically affected us. So, what would you recommend? How can yoga help us to keep the mind at check, other than the body in form?
See, for dancers and for everybody alike, this COVID situation has brought in a sense of it's a threat, right? It's threatened our existence. Like, for example, it's threatened our survival.
Hmm.
So, what happens if 1 month, the first month, let's say, for example, March, when the lockdown started, we had to be on strict lockdown. So, our mind, which is programmed to keep thinking unless controlled by us or worked with by us. What happens? The 13 days till uh, April
Hmm.
1st, where the first lockdown was announced, April 3rd or something like that. So people started becoming so paranoid. Okay, they said, okay, maybe I don't know what happens. If it's 15 days, if we don't have a job, we might be taken off the jobs. We might be this one. We might have no food, and this might go on. We don't know. We have to. There's so many things, right? So when the yoga has a very nice understanding about it. It says, don't fight the battles of tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Then you will have no strength to fight the battle of today.
Okay.
Because when you start moving in that survival, you have no space to think. Your intellectual thinking or the higher intellectual thinking ability is completely compromised. Right?
Hmm.
So there will be no buddhi. We call
Hmm.
the higher thinking buddhi, right? So there will be no buddhi.
Hmm.
There will only be the mind, which we call it manas. So that we will constantly be bombarded by so many thoughts related to our survival.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yes, we need to survive. We need to think about it. Yes, I see that a lot of dancers have been coming up online, offering classes, and it's been well received too. Right? Maybe looking for other opportunities to keep the wheel turning. The moment you get hopeless, the wheel stops. And that moment, the mind is bombarded with so many things. If you need to know a clearer definition of what it is, the mind is majorly made of senses and experiences that we have already had.
Hmm.
And any change brings in a lot of pain.
Hmm.
any change, right? For example, if I'm getting a salary of 40,000, any change to it, like even me getting 35,000 will challenge many things in my mind.
Hmm.
So, um, yoga in that way helps you to apply the opposite. The moment you say, oh no, it's so hopeless, the situation is so hopeless, there is something called Pratipaksha Bhavana we practice in yoga, where
Hmm.
the opposite is automatically, if you're practicing yoga for some time, the opposite is automatically applied. It's saying, it's not that bad, things will pass.
Hmm. Hmm. This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. This is automatically applied. The opposite. It's so
Hmm.
hopeless to, no, it's not that hopeless. We can find another way.
Hmm.
So systematically with attitude, if you practice yoga, this need not be told by anybody. You will have that attitude.
So you're saying that even positive thoughts is something which the practice of yoga is able to give to the mind through the body.
Absolutely. It does not advocate a positive thought. Yoga says there is nothing like a positive thought.
Okay.
There is no positive thinking, because positive thinking is equal to suppressing in
Okay.
the language of yoga, right? You can see something and say, oh no, this is not like this, it's very positive. You can say that, but
Hmm.
you cannot change the quality of it. It says, see things for what it is.
Hmm. Okay.
Like
Okay.
see COVID situation for what it is. When you see something so clearly, you will figure out many ways to work with it.
Right.
Right? I can give you an analogy. We can solve others' problems more than we can solve our own problem. Because we can see others clearly, but we can't see ourselves so clearly. That's why yoga
True.
says, see everything clearly and you will solve the problems associated with it.
And um, what kind of sites and what kind of yoga practitioners, like, can you give us few recommendations for dancers who are all over? Can you give us a few schools or few online practitioners that you would recommend for us to follow to understand our systems better?
Absolutely. So for dancers, I would suggest that pick up a slow practice. This is the opposite, right? See, like goes behind like. If I have a tendency, if my body is of a certain way, and if I have the tendency to eat spice, right? But my body does not require spice, but I feel like eating spice. Like this, dancers who are very good with movement want to pick up movement based practices because that will make them feel good, because
Hmm.
there is our identification is with movement.
Hmm.
So now what you need to instead do is to give stillness,
Hmm.
apply the opposite, the
Okay.
pratipaksha bhavana that I spoke about,
Right. Right.
right? So still practices, you can pick up Iyengar yoga, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Bihar school yoga. Bihar school yoga, I would let me just change this one. First, you can pick up Bihar school yoga. If you don't have, then you can pick up Iyengar school yoga practice. Right? These two are very grounded in their nature.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Bihar school yoga also works a lot on your. It's an integrated practice. It works a lot on your emotions. There's a lot of meditation practices and all of that. Find a teacher who knows what they're teaching.
Hmm.
Um, See, I run a school, and I run a yoga school where I teach teachers, and I see that a lot of them, once they go out, they don't want to practice anymore. This
Hmm.
1 month or 2 months practice, whatever they have, they want to keep on teaching the same. 5, 6 years down the line, you ask them, they are teaching the same thing, right? So don't go to teachers like that. Go to teachers who have experience, who are playful, who are experimental in their nature, who understands things. Right? Bihar school is my first choice for dances, and the second is Iyengar yoga, because in Iyengar yoga a mix of this is very good. Because in Iyengar yoga you can target each and every particular joint, particular muscle group, and using props you can intensify the practice and direct it. Right?
Hmm.
So these two are wonderful.
Okay. And Hatha Yoga?
These two are also Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga. See, Hatha Yoga
Oh,
is just using your body and breath for practice. So these two schools uses Hatha Yoga.
okay. And do you think, the last question is, do you think um, um, say they say for dancers kundalini energy always um, rises without them being very conscious. So there is, especially when they're in a state of high during a performance, they say that very unconsciously your energy is released, but at the same time we don't know how to control it and bring it back to normal. Is there a yoga practice that can help dancers to do post performance to control and neutralize their energy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is my favorite part, right? Because yes, a dancer without understanding, they ignite so many things within themselves, which they have no this one of. And anything that you do within yourself, which you have no memory of, which you have no connection of, becomes very dangerous,
Right,
right?
right.
So here, what happens is one is understanding the subject.
Hmm.
It's very good that you came until the idea of Kundalini. Um, so Kundalini is nothing but it's a big word, but if you bring it down, it's energy. It's
Hmm.
potent energy which is not used. So being dancers, you, you, you awaken that. And it's a very strong energy. The body has no capability to take it. The mind space has no capability to take it.
Hmm.
Right? This is why you find a lot of mental disorders among dancers. Right? There is a lot of bipolar activity among dancers, and this is the
Hmm.
reason.
Hmm.
And yes, by becoming aware of that energy, that's first thing.
Hmm.
All the dancers, I would say, has to become aware of that energy by a
Hmm.
sadhaka. If a sadhaka explains that to them, how this energy is, what does it do, how to work
Hmm.
with it. And then the second is after and before the performance.
Hmm.
If you can do small practices which relaxes, which grounds you,
Hmm.
then that would be a wonderful thing.
Okay. Okay.
So you'll be cognizant of that.
Thank you. Um, can I leave? Can I take a few more minutes of yours and leave the question open to our viewers if anybody wants to ask anything?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
You know that my times are this one. How many times you have extended half an hour, 45 minutes? My classes.
yeah. So, if any of the uh, viewers and listeners, if any of you want to ask, okay, injury, Sandeep, you can see this, right?
Yeah, yeah. Injury is common
Injury.
problem dancers face. Will yoga help in avoiding these injuries? Yes. See, injury is at a point of time, uh, the mind of a dancer moves faster than reality,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So this is a meta this one, but let me just bring it down to very simple terms, right? We are so fast in moving our mind and the body, and this one. So in that movement, becoming very aware of certain things is very difficult. Like you're sitting in a train and you're moving so fast and you see something flash by, it's very difficult for you to understand what it is
Right.
because you're so fast, right? So, yoga helps by becoming aware of yourself, no matter how fast you are moving or how slow you're moving.
Mm-hmm.
In physical terms, you become so aware of your muscle groups, joints, and tissues that even when you're moving so fast, you know how to move, how to keep your leg, how to jump, and all of that.
Okay. So you're saying that it not just helps the body become aware, but the
Mhm,
intensity of the injury is something you can gauge with yoga.
mhm. Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Moving to the other questions.
Madhuri,
Madhuri.
let me do this, Mayuri. Why do you want to waste your this energy? Let me do that because both of us have to read anyway. So,
Sure.
is it a coincidence that eclipse is falling on the same day as International Yoga Day? And will it have an effect on the awareness of yogis world over? Madhuri, uh, a lot of people may disagree, but this is how I look at it, and this is how my tradition has been looking at it, right? So, see, an eclipse is a time when the fire of the sun is not being channelized. So we need fire in all parts of the body for us to move, right? You need
Mm.
um, the fire of sadhana, right? The sadhaka pitta, we say that. In Ayurveda also accepts this. We need different kinds of fire to stimulate, right? Jataragni, we say. Agni. Fire is
Mm.
Agni. We need these different fires to stimulate our thought process, how much impressions we burn, and all of that. So, an eclipse is said to extinguish that fire. There is no fire.
Mm.
So, at this time, it is often good that you don't do too much thinking, don't do too many movements. Just sit down and see what all is happening without this fire. What is happening within yourself? With
Mm.
this fire, we don't have to worry too much. Things are automatically happening. We are taking in impressions, we are taking in food, it's getting metabolized. But when this fire is not there, what are the changes within has to be very importantly noticed. And once you notice this, you will know how to deal with it.
Mhm.
Loss of something has to be noticed and gain of something has to be noticed. This is the idea. So once you notice, you can work with it. This is the reason behind all the rituals around Grahana or eclipse. I hope that
Interesting.
answers your question, Madhuri.
Um, the next one is there a time where one must not practice yoga?
See, for sadhakas, Ashwin, there are 4 times. For sadhakas, like proper yoga sadhakas, there are 4 times that we practice, right? One is early morning, afternoon, evening, and midnight. There are 4 times of practice for a sadhaka. But for a family man, 2 times out of this is not very good, which is afternoon and the midnight practice. So, for a for somebody who is uh, leading a family, then they need to practice either in the mornings or in the evenings. That's a good
Mm.
time.
Next
Pratah
one.
Sandhya. I am very emotional in nature, and due to that, I feel my energy is very low while dancing. How can I
Balance
balance
that.
that? Aditi. Okay. Aditi, being emotional is not bad at all, right? So please don't confuse your emotions to your energy. Being emotional can, in fact, increase your energy. When you're saying emotions or emotional, you're saying that you're not able to handle your emotions. So
Mm.
here, being cognitive of what emotions you're going through is the first step, Aditi. And second, you see where is it coming from,
Mm.
right? For example, if I'm feeling a sense of loss, it might be coming from something that I've lost earlier. Very simple examples I'm giving you, right? Yours might not be this at all. If you're feeling that you're being rejected, this might be due to something somebody said, something happened, or a series of things that happened. So it means that there are some things that is not understood, it's not um digested. So you need to get there. It's just like digestion, Aditi. If you have too much food in your body which is not digested, then you will feel weak. So this is why the energy is low. And that is the reason why everybody should first understand what emotions they are going through. If it is difficult, find a good friend, find somebody who you trust and talk to them, and or you find help, a therapist, you talk to them, and find out what emotions you're going through and why are you going through, so that you know you can work with it. Dance and yoga, Raji. Hello, Raji. Dance and yoga has a lot of link. Lord Shiva, the Adi Yogi, is the proponent of both. One is high on Kundalini, and other one keeps you grounded. Seems like opposites. Your thought on this? Okay. See, Adi Yogi or Shiva, who is in different traditions. Now, I'm not going into tradition. See, I'm a Madhva Brahmin by this one, so I'm not gonna mix up any tradition and cause any problems. But I'll take it in terms of tradition, right? Tantra believes that the first dance brought creation into this world, right? The vibration out of that dance is what made the creation. Like this, yes, potential energy is always like that. There is one potential energy, and then there is another energy which is being used, a very small version of that potential energy. So, Kundalini means that potential energy. And once it is awakened, you will be the highest that you can ever be, right? Like, as in, you can be the best version of yourself. Like, that's what we call it as enlightenment. So, now, the question is, yeah, they are both. Like one is they're in the different stages, right? Potential energy on different stages. So it's not different, it's the same. So we call it chakras. If you want, I could tell you about that. They call chakras different states of being. It does not mean that one is this and one is that. They are all different states. Like you were a teenager once, now you are a mom. Like, but you are you. So you're for going through different states. Will this live be saved? That I think Mayuri will answer. Tejal would would say a yoga practitioner is also a dancer, as some practices are quite similar and vice versa. Uh, Madhuri, yoga by what it means is very different. We are using it very loosely everywhere here. Yoga says only one thing, chitta vritti nirodha. It means that it says no mental modifications at all. Nothing should be out of the mind, right? Uh, but when you say Hatha Yoga, let's say a body-based practice, when you say Hatha Yoga, it has only uh, one goal, which is to balance the body. So if you're doing that through dance, well and good, you're doing yoga. If you're doing that through speech, well and good, you're doing yoga. If you're doing that through the breath, you're doing yoga. Where you're balancing your body, that means yoga. So with dance, if you are balancing the body, absolutely, yes, that is yoga. Mm, Shaju. Okay, I'm feeling very lonely and stressed. Um, okay. See, loneliness is something that we create, right? Are you feeling alone or lonely? This you have to ask this to yourself. If you're feeling alone, that means that you need to go find people. If you're feeling lonely, then you need to find more ways to connect with people around you, right? We feel lonely because we don't connect with people. And how is connection happening? Connection is happening through like or sometimes even hate, right? So we have a tendency to either like people or not like people. And this is the reason why we feel very difficult. We feel it's very difficult to connect with people genuinely. So see if you are doing that. Take away the boundaries. I keep telling this, all my students who are there, please don't be bored, but I keep telling this. See, we keep separating ourselves through countries, continents, states, this one, so much that even in our house we have a separation. He is like this, like Mayuri saying to Madhuri, no, she is like that, I am not like that. We both are very, very different. This different is good, it has to be celebrated, but all of us have to be connected with each other, genuinely, not taking something from each other, but giving something to each other, right? This idea of whenever you feel lonely, Shaju, remember that you're not giving enough, right? I'm not making a judgment here. I'm not saying giving means anything materialistic. I'm just saying that when somebody starts giving, they start connecting with people. It may be time, it may be space, it may be anything of that sort, right? So start giving more, and most importantly, distinguish between being alone and lonely first. If you're alone, it's very easy to fix it. Just find some like-minded people and get along with them. But if you're lonely, then you might look at giving, right?
Nice, very interesting answer. I think those are the ones for now. So thank you, Sandeep. Thank you so much for giving this valuable insight and helping us understand our own self a little better. So thank you and happy International Yoga Day again.
Thank you. Happy International Yoga Day to all of you. See, every time I take a session, I tell thanks to people and thank you all, because this is how I move from where I am to slightly higher place, right? Because without this, without you guys, I could never practice. So thanks for giving me this opportunity to practice.
Thank you.